Hello guys and gals, Buffalo here. I'm kind of excited today. I've got one of the coolest lever actions that I've ever had here on the Buffalo Range. This is the Henry 410 lever action. So let's not waste time. Let's go ahead and do some shooting. A little disclaimer here before we start shooting. I am not a cowboy action shooter. I'm not like super fast with a lever action, but I love lever actions. They're a lot of fun, and that's what we're going to try to demonstrate here today, just how much fun they are. I love the way they look, I love the way they feel, I love the way they work. So just keep that in mind, and let's get started. That is a lot of fun. All right, so through the magic of video editing, all the steel set back on the posts. Shotgun is loaded back up. Now, I do edit my videos in order to keep them from running too long, especially if I'm loading a magazine tube like this. I do want to show you guys a little tip on loading this thing here in just a little bit, but I do edit my videos to keep them shorter, keep them from running so long. No sense you guys watching me set all the targets back up and all that stuff, but I do not edit my opinion. That is just too much fun. Okay guys, just for fun, I'm going to hand toss a clay pigeon, shoot that steel target, and then shoot the clay pigeon before it hits the ground. So let me load up here. See if I can do this. Got him. I think I barely got him, but I got him. Man, this little gun, it is weighty. We'll go over that here in just a little bit as well, but it also handles well. Okay, so let's just try some hand-thrown clays. I'm going to start off with one and then just kind of work my way up to maybe we can bust three. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. Jeez, I missed all three of those. All right, got to try for redemption. Oh yeah, that's more like it. That's actually harder to do than it looks. All right, so Henry introduced these shotguns in 2017. There's actually two models, one with a 20-inch barrel and rifle sights, and that model doesn't accept choke tubes, it's just a cylinder bore. And then you've got this model, which is the 24-inch barreled model, and it has a shotgun bead for your sight, and it also accepts choke tubes, which we'll get to here in just a few minutes. Now, this is an adult shotgun. This is not a kid's 410. You know, there's two lines of thought when you talk to people about a 410. There's the expert line of thought that it's an expert's gun for getting close to the game, small game and stuff like that. And then there's the people that just think a 410 is just a kid's gun and nothing more. This definitely would fall into the expert category, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying a kid couldn't shoot it. They definitely could if they're stout enough. They've got the upper body strength to hold the gun up. I'll tell you right now, my 10-year-old son, he would like to shoot this, but he just really, he don't have quite the upper body strength to hold it up. It comes in at just a touch over 7.5 pounds, so it's a pretty good, pretty solid, weighty gun. It's based on the Henry 4570, so you know it's not a child's gun. Is what I'm trying to say here. Now it's got a advertised capacity of 5 rounds in the tube, but you can actually get 6 rounds in the tube plus 1 in the chamber. I'll show you how to do that here when we get to that part. It's got this beautiful American walnut stock. Take a look at that. That just looks good, just quality you would expect from Henry. The action on these guns is just as smooth as can be. Again, you know, Henry has that reputation for producing lever actions with that smooth cycling capability. And this certainly falls in line with that. And one thing I would mention is with this little shotgun, where it is based on the 4570, you get a rifle trigger. Most shotguns have a pretty tough trigger. It's more of a slap trigger than a rifle trigger. This gun actually has a rifle trigger, and it makes a difference when you're out shooting this thing. It makes it a lot easier to shoot. Of course, it comes with swivel studs already on the gun, and it comes with a choke tube installed. I've picked up an extra one here because we're going to be shooting some more stuff here in just a little bit. And what I like about what Henry's done is they're using the Invector style choke tubes, which are really popular and easy to find. I appreciate them doing that rather than just coming out with another proprietary choke tube to have to keep up with. But these just thread into the muzzle. It comes with a full choke, and Henry recommends that you don't shoot slugs through the full choke. And they don't specify what slugs, like for instance, these Remington slugs here, the rifled slugs, say safe through any choke. And we've tested that before, they certainly are. But there are some slugs that you should never shoot through a full choke. And I think that Henry putting that in the owner's manual is it's just easier for them just to blanket all slugs and say, you know, just don't shoot slugs through the full choke, rather than try to point out which slugs you can and which slugs you can't. And that's also the base of the myth that you can't shoot slugs through a full choke, is because it's just easier for people to say, don't shoot slugs through your full choke, than it is to say, well, you can shoot this, you can shoot Foster slugs, but don't shoot this style or that style. So I think that's what that statement in the owner's manual is about. But regardless, I've got a skeet choke tube here. That's going to be far less constriction than the full choke that came installed in the gun. Skeet falls in between improved cylinder and cylinder bore, so not much constriction at all. We'll be switching that out in a few minutes, and I'll show you how to do that. First, let's get a weight on this trigger pull. I've got my trigger scale here, my Lyman trigger pull scale. Let's see. £5, 13.5 ounces. Let's try again just for consistency. Got 6 pounds that time. So 5.5 to 6 pound trigger pull. Really clean trigger, breaks really clean, hardly any take up. I like that trigger. Being based on the 4570 model, it does have the blued steel receiver and barrel, just great looking shotgun. I keep wanting to call it a rifle. Just a great looking shotgun, and it is a smooth bore shotgun. There's no rifling in this gun. If I accidentally refer to it as a rifle, it's just because this gun looks so much like a rifle and feels a lot like a rifle. Now, on their website, Henry lists this thing as 44.5 inches on the overall length on the 24-inch barrel model I've got here, but I get closer to 42.5 inches. So that's just a discrepancy that I found there. And the length of pull, which is measured from the trigger to the back of the recoil pad, which this gun actually has a pretty nice little recoil pad on it, which you don't really need, but I guess it's there to help. The recoil on this thing, and I'll try to demonstrate that, is just barely existent. But they advertise a 14-inch length of pull, and that's exactly what I get with my tape measure. So they were spot on there. And again, those are adult measurements. This is not a youth model shotgun, it's an adult's gun. So let me load this thing up. I'll show you guys how I load this up. I always load a tubular magazine with the action open, because I'll be working around the end of the barrel. With the action open, there's absolutely no way that anything, bad could happen. So pull out the magazine tube. Look what a chunky tube that is. And we'll shoot some target loads. So far in this video, the intro you watched up until now, all I've shot is target loads. But the great thing about the 410 these days is there's so many defensive handguns out there now for 410 that there's a lot of good ammo options. This make a great zombie apocalypse gun. There's a lot of defensive ammo out there for this gun. But they advertise this tube as holding 5 rounds. There's 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's your 5, but you can easily get one more in here. That makes you 6. And since it picks up the round on the downstroke, it releases the round from the mag tube. We've already done our downstroke, so it's not going to release another round when we close up, so we can drop one into the chamber. Now we've got 7 rounds in this little shotgun. That's not too bad of a capacity for a 410, for any shotgun for that matter. Now, to carry this gun safely, you'll need to hold back on the hammer, pull the trigger. When you feel the hammer release and going forward a little bit, just let it forward a little bit, let off the trigger. When you let off the trigger, the transfer bar safety drops down, and now this hammer cannot strike. It can't strike the firing pin unless that trigger is pulled back. So I've got it pointed safely here. Now if I were to pull the trigger and do that, the gun will go off. But you can carry this gun safely with one in the chamber. It doesn't have an external manual safety, which, I think that's great. I like it just like it is. Let me get my earplugs in. We'll shoot these and I'll demonstrate just how little recoil this gun has. So here's a look at that recoil. All right, so hopefully you guys can see in that slow motion clip just how light the recoil is on this shotgun. It's a weighty shotgun. It's made well. It soaks up almost all of that. There's not much recoil produced by a 410 round anyway, and this gun, it pretty much soaks all of it up. Not much recoil there at all. Now, it is chambered in 2.5 inch only. You can't shoot 3-inch magnums in this shotgun. I know a lot of people will steer away from this gun just because of that, but not for me. 2.5 inch will do pretty much anything the 3 inch is going to do anyway. And if you're a hunter, for most people that hunt with a 410, you're not reaching for a magnum load anyway. If you were wanting a magnum, you'd just step up to a bigger gauge, like a 20 gauge or something like that. So 2.5 inch chambering doesn't bother me any. Maybe something that bothers you though. I do want to mention that. So there's a wide variety of ammo for 410s available. You know, I've got that little 28 gauge that I've done several videos on, and there's just not a whole lot of ammo variety available for that gun. It's birdshot only. But with the 410, with the popularity of defensive handguns and stuff like that, there's a lot of defensive ammunition. I've got this Hornady Critical Defense, Winchester PDX-1. Of course, you've got your buckshot, your slugs, and then you've got all your birdshot rounds, your target rounds. 410 ammo is a little more expensive than say 12 gauge or 20 gauge, but it is available. There's a wide variety available, so that's a good thing. When it comes to sub gauges, that's something that the 410 really has over on the 28 gauge, in my opinion. Now, talked about choke tubes. Let's change this choke tube out, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about there. Again, working around the muzzle, bring that action open, you'll be just fine. It does come with a little choke tube wrench in the box. You only get the one tube. I wish Henry would supply a set of 3. I think any shotgun that comes with choke tubes should come with at least 3 choke tubes, a full, a modified, and an improved cylinder. But, you know, that's just me being picky. That's probably the only negative comment you'll hear me say about this shotgun. Don't have a lot of negatives to say about it. At least they did go with the Invector style tubes, which is great. Really common and easy to find. So once you start that loose with your wrench, you can just spin it out with your fingers. And we're going to put this skeet tube in. That way we'll shoot some of these slugs and buckshot and defensive loads and see how they work. I just bring that down with my fingers, then drop the wrench in. Well, if I could get it started there. And you don't want to put the, you don't need 100 foot-pounds of torque here. You just want to tighten it up, snug it up good, and check on it every now and then, but they'll usually stay put. So now we went from full choke to skeet, and I picked that up locally here. Just picked it up at one of the sporting goods stores. It's a Browning Standard Invector 410 choke tube, and that's what that takes, so we're good to go there. Let's shoot some slugs and some of this defensive ammunition and see how it does. Okay, we'll start off with these Remington rifled slugs. Again, these state right on the box. Rifled slugs may be fired through any choke, but improved cylinder is best. I'm running a skeet tube, so just take that for what you will. Skeet's a little bit less constriction than an improved cylinder. We're going to load up here. I'm just going to drop 5 in. Now, Henry offers an inner magazine tube like this that will only allow 2 shells in the magazine tube. So that would make this gun legal for migratory bird or any other. In Kentucky, even small game with a shotgun, you can only have 2 rounds in the magazine tube on a shotgun. So I think deer is the exception. I think deer you can have 10, but with small game or migratory birds, you have to be plugged to hold 2 rounds. So they offer an inner magazine tube like this. I think it's about 20 bucks on their website that will limit you to 2 rounds in the mag and 1 in the chamber, which will then make you legal for migratory bird. But now, let's get back to the slugs. Let's drop 5 of them in. Haven't shot slugs through this, so you're watching the very first shots with slugs. We'll back up here. That's roughly 40 yards. Probably about 38 yards, I don't know. You get the idea. Again, we don't pick one up when we close the lever, so we have to rack it. Now we've got one in. Let's see if I can make a hit on some of that steel. We'll try that big one first. Yes. I think I missed on that last one. So I had 4 hits there out of 5. Let's drop in some of these Winchester slugs. These are, and 410 slugs are generally a high velocity affair. 1,830 feet per second velocity on a 1/5 ounce slug on these Winchesters. I don't know if the Remingtons had a velocity listed. I don't see a muzzle velocity on the Remingtons, but anyway, and they'll usually, what I've found is they will fragment. If you shoot them into jugs of water or something like that, you'll see what I'm talking about. They'll fragment up and come apart. They're traveling at such a high velocity. Forgot to leave my lever open there. Great round for small varmints, predators, coyotes, that kind of thing. And a lot of people kill deer with them year after year. So they do bring deer down. So these are the Winchester slugs. Again, I had one miss. That time I missed the first shot, I think. But, you know, this is the first time I shot slugs through it. So, you guys got to see the very first slugs through it. So, I just done a little bit of patterning off camera. I set the target up at 20 yards and just did some 20-yard patterns. And compared the 2 choke tubes. I used number 9 target loads, number 9 shot. This was the skeet tube. Nice even pattern distribution. You guys might see that better on the back side. Covered the whole target. Those number 9 shot, the advantage is you get a lot more pellets into a little round like the 410. And you can see, you know, and hopefully I demonstrated in the intro of this video and with these patterns that this gun just make an outstanding little small game gun. But that is with the skeet choke, and you can see the difference. This is with the full choke. Look at the difference on those. Full choke is a tighter pattern than the skeet over here. You don't have the whole target covered like this has got them from the head all the way to the bottom. This one you don't see that. There's none in the head, there's none down here in the bottom. Just nice even pellet distribution there. And then I went ahead and that's the small end of the spectrum as far as shot size. And I went ahead and did some 3 pellet triple aught buck patterns. And this was with the skeet tube. Got the 3 holes here. Again, you might be able to see it better on this side. This is the back side, but you got your 3 holes here. This is just where the wadding hit. And then I changed to the full choke and got the opposite results of what we got with the small pellets. The full choke actually spread my pellets out farther. Got here, here, and here. Or excuse me, here, here, and here. Here's where the wadding struck. So we went from got a tape measure here somewhere. With the skeet tube and the triple aught buck at 20 yards, we had about an 8.5 inch pattern. When we went to the full choke, we had about a 15 inch spread. Now, granted, those were just one each. You know, you need a larger sample. You would need to shoot those multiple times to get a good variable of what your pattern is actually doing, but those are just one off, and it does show that you can over choke very large shot and cause the pattern to spread rather than tighten it up if that's your goal. And with smaller shot, they react more appropriately to what the choke tubes are trying to do. Your full choke is much tighter than your skeet tube. So that being said, let's, for the heck of it, let's pattern some of this defensive stuff here. I've got this Critical Defense, which is a 41 caliber, basically a 41 caliber FTX bullet sitting over top of two 35 caliber round balls. So that's an interesting load. And then we've got this PDX-1 Defender, which has 3 pellets and 12 plated BB, or I'm sorry, 3 discs. Has 3 flat discs and 12 plated BBs. We'll shoot these at 10 yards since they're a defensive round. Probably not going to see a lot of defensive use at 20 yards. 10 yards, maybe even stretching it. But we'll shoot these two at 10 yards. And we'll just shoot them through the full choke since that's what come in the gun. And we'll see what happens. Alright, got my eyes, my ears in. We'll start out with the Hornady Critical Defense load. I've got a target set up here at 10 yards. Take that one down and change it out. And now we'll go with the Winchester PDX-1 load. This has the 3 discs and the 12 BBs. Both of those people can talk about the little 410 all they want, but I wouldn't want to be downwind of either one of those rounds, or downrange. I don't guess downwind would hurt nothing, but I wouldn't want to be downrange of either one of those loads. This one, you can see the 3 discs pretty much hit flat side first. And then on this one, the Critical Defense load, you had your bullet and then your 3 big pellets. I mean, you're at that range, 10 yards or less, and it is a defensive ammo, so, you know, that's going to get the job done. I don't really see any point of putting the skeet tube in and trying it. You know, the shotgun comes with the full, and at that range, tubes aren't going to make that much of a difference. So that's where we're going to end that that little test at. Bottom line, guys, this is just a fantastically made shotgun. Great shotgun for small game hunting and you know, pest control around the farm, around the barn, and stuff like that. Varmint control, coyote, things like that, and even some people deer hunt with them. Wouldn't be my choice for a deer gun, but you know, some people do. And even self-defense, you know, you saw with those self-defense loads there, 7 rounds of one of these self-defense loads like I shot, or even some buckshot, you know, that's pretty well armed in my opinion. Now, again, is it my choice? No, but if I were out and this was the only gun I had and I had ammo for it, I wouldn't feel undergunned, to be honest with you. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I appreciate you guys watching and subscribing. If you aren't a subscriber, please consider subscribing. All the links to my other social media accounts are in the video description. So appreciate you checking those out. Follow me somewhere else besides here on YouTube. The way YouTube is, we never know from day to day if we're going to have a channel or not. So it's nice to have you guys follow me somewhere else so that I can let you know what I'm doing and where I'm doing it at. Of course, I do have an account over on BitChute. If any of you guys are interested in that, it's also in the description. Thanks to Scott for this great t-shirt over at Kentucky Ballistics. If you're interested in a shirt like this, go over to the Kentucky Ballistics channel. I'm sure he's got a link to the shirts in any of his video descriptions. That's about all I've got, and I'll talk with you all again soon.